This story, shrouded in a dense veil of secrecy and governmental denials, has sparked fierce debates in ufological circles for decades. Some researchers, particularly those who adhere to strictly scientific methods and demand irrefutable physical evidence, consider it an artfully fabricated fiction, a product of imagination, or even deliberate disinformation. However, there is also a significant group of enthusiasts and serious ufologists who, with complete confidence, regard the alleged incident in the Arizona desert as a real, albeit carefully concealed, historical fact, one link in the chain of supposed UFO crashes on American soil. The general public first learned about this intriguing incident in 1973 when the renowned and highly respected American researcher of anomalous phenomena, Raymond Fowler, known for his scrupulousness and thoroughness in studying UFO contact cases, released shocking details of an event that, according to his data, took place on May 20th, 1953. It is worth noting that this was not the first mention of this case. It is known that as early as 1964, another prominent ufologist, Richard Hall, one of the founders of NICAP, National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, was actively interested in this same mysterious story, which lends it additional weight and indicates its circulation in narrow circles of researchers long before it was publicly reported. Fowler stated that he received the sensational information about the incident from an engineer who initially preferred to conceal his real name, introducing himself under the pseudonym Fritz Werner. Only later, after much persuasion and assurances of confidentiality, did it emerge that Arthur G. Stansel, a man with an impeccable reputation and a solid track record, was hiding behind this pseudonym. His decision to break years of silence was dictated, he said, by a sense of duty to society and a desire to reveal the truth about the events he had witnessed. Arthur Stansel's biography left no doubt about his competence and reliability as a witness. He graduated with honors from a prestigious university in Ohio in 1949, receiving a degree in mechanical engineering. Immediately after graduation, he was accepted into a responsible position at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, a place long considered in ufological circles to be one of the centers for storing and studying UFO debris and alien bodies. Recall the famous Hangar 18. At Wright-Patterson, Stansel was engaged in responsible work, testing and analyzing the latest U.S. Air Force aircraft engines, which required not only deep technical knowledge, but also access to classified information. According to Stansel, a key figure in this story was Dr. Eric Van, a name, perhaps, also changed, who allegedly supervised the entire team of engineers and scientists at the site of the supposed UFO crash. Dr. Van was Arthur Stansel's immediate superior at Wright-Patterson and headed a top-secret department known as the Office of Special Studies. The very existence of such a department, apparently dealing with the most unconventional and potentially groundbreaking technologies, already prompts certain reflections. Before giving his sensational testimony, which was first published by Ray Fowler in the pages of the authoritative UFO magazine in the April 1976 issue, Arthur Stansel took an important step underscoring the seriousness of his intentions. He officially took an oath and signed a legally binding document, an affidavit, in which he affirmed, under penalty of perjury, the truthfulness of his every word. This fact significantly increases the degree of credibility of his account, as perjury under oath is a serious crime in the United States. According to Stansel's account, in the early 1950s, he was working for a private company that was fulfilling an important government contract for the maintenance and security of a nuclear facility located in a desert area of Nevada. This was work that required not only high qualifications, but also the strictest adherence to secrecy. Shortly after starting work at this facility, in May 1953, he was unexpectedly and without much explanation sent on a top-secret assignment to Phoenix, Arizona. He was ordered to take only a minimum of personal belongings and to be prepared to perform a particularly important government task. Upon arrival at the designated location in Phoenix, he and several other strangers, also clearly summoned on urgent business, were transferred to a special bus. The windows of this bus were completely blacked out from the inside so that passengers could not see where they were being taken. In complete darkness and uncertainty, they were driven for about 4 long hours northwest of Phoenix, along deserted and bumpy roads. The atmosphere on the bus was tense and silent. Presumably, the final destination, the site of the alleged UFO crash, was located somewhere in the vicinity of Kingman, Arizona, a vast, sparsely populated desert area, ideal for concealing such operations from prying eyes. The bus was full of passengers, men in civilian clothes, with focused and slightly anxious faces. Arthur Stansel knew none of them then, and, as he claimed, never found out subsequently, as they were strictly forbidden to communicate with each other, exchange names, or any information throughout the operation. This prohibition maintained an atmosphere of strict secrecy and prevented variable understanding. Finally, the bus stopped. When they were let out, the secret destination turned out to be a small, isolated patch of desert, brightly lit by two powerful military searchlights mounted on trucks. Their blinding lights snatched a limited space from the darkness, creating a surreal and disturbing picture. All this happened before dawn. The sky was just beginning to lighten in the east, and it was still dark and cold all around. The air was filled with the hum of generators powering the searchlights and the quiet, abrupt commands of the military. The engineer was literally stunned when he saw what was in the center of the illuminated area. Before him, half buried in the soft desert sand, lay an object in the classic disc shape, a flying saucer. Its smooth, metallic surface reflected dully in the searchlight beams. According to Stansel, the diameter of this object was approximately 30 feet, about 9 meters. It looked damaged, but not completely destroyed. Armed soldiers in field uniforms stood in a tight ring around the object, cordoning off the entire area. It was obvious that the object had either crash-landed or, more likely, had been shot down by air defense systems or U.S. Air Force missiles. A jagged hole gaped in the silver hull of the aircraft, as if from an explosion or a projectile impact. It was apparently through this opening that researchers were trying to get inside. Arthur Stansel's immediate task, as a mechanical engineer specializing in engines, was to make preliminary calculations and try to determine the object's possible speed at the moment of impact with the ground, as well as, if possible, to analyze the nature of the damage and make assumptions about the type of its propulsion system. The engineer quickly and professionally sprawled with his duties, using the instruments available to him and his experience. A little later, when the initial commotion and tense atmosphere among the researchers and military personnel gradually subsided, people began to discuss the details of the incident more freely among themselves, off the record, of course. It was from these snippets of conversation, overheard in snatches, that Arthur learned some additional shocking details. He was told that inside the aircraft there was a small compartment, resembling a cockpit, with very small, almost child-sized seats, clearly not designed for people of normal height. Stansel himself, to his regret, never managed to personally examine the interior of the mysterious object. His access was limited to the external inspection area. However, he did happen to glance into one of the medical tents hastily erected near the crash site. What he saw there shocked him to the core. On a metal table, covered with a sheet, lay the small body of a being about 4 feet tall, about 120 centimeters. Arthur Stansel claims that this alleged alien was wearing a close-fitting silver, seamless suit, and on its head was a small helmet, similar to those worn by pilots. He could not make out the creature's facial features, but its small stature and disproportionately large head, which he had also heard mentioned in conversations, left no doubt in his mind about its unearthly origin. This fleeting glimpse left an indelible impression on his memory. Soon, as dawn had fully broken, all civilian specialists, including Stansel, were gathered together and ordered to leave the crash site immediately. The entire operation was carried out with maximum speed and secrecy. On the way back, in the same bus with blacked-out windows, all passengers without exception had to sign an official document, a non-disclosure of state secrets agreement. They were strictly warned that they should never, under any circumstances, discuss this story, what they had seen, or even the fact of their presence at this secret site with anyone. Violation of this order threatened the most serious consequences, up to criminal prosecution for treason. Before relaying the shocking details of this alleged catastrophe to other ufology groups and the general public, Raymond Fowler, as a responsible researcher, conducted a full and thorough check of all data provided by Arthur Stansel. He verified